Welcome, ladies and germs, to the updated 2023 Old School RuneScape Bossing Ladder. Now, maybe you're brand new and you need a little bit of guidance, or you have 10,000 hours, you're deeply depressed, and the only way to fill the void is with RuneScape YouTube content. Either way, this video is for you. We're going to go ahead and start with the easiest and go up in ascending order to the absolute most difficult and rewarding challenge in the game, starting with the first tier of difficulty. First boss to kick it off here is the Barros Brothers. Now, this is Baby's first boss, and there are exactly 3 reasons you would ever be doing this content. 1, you are brand new, you need to dip your toes into PVM because you're agonizingly bored of failing master farmers. And 2, you are foe, you've just made your 53rd hardcore Iron Man, you need tank legs. And 3, you're a RuneScape YouTuber who has completely run out of ideas. Next on the list is Giant Mole. Now, I am rather familiar with this one, right? And not much has changed since the last bossing ladder. Again, either you are a maxed pet hunter, or you're a girl with a T-bow that you borrowed from your #1 sub gifter and you think the mole is cute. Now, of course, we cannot forget KBD. Actually, we can. The Archaeologists and Fanatics. Lumping all of these together because, first of all, who does these? Get your 25 KC for combat achievements and leave. The Dagonoth Kings. Okay, this one is almost a real boss. This is cool if you have the Elite Frenetic Diary and you get the noted bones, but if you didn't know that, you probably don't have the diary. Also, fun fact, guys, Prime's mage attack does splash damage. So, if you were to say aggro Prime and stand next to someone, I don't know, just an example, a hardcore Iron Man safe spotting Rex for the Berserker ring? Accidents happen. Fun fact. Sarachnis! It's always funny to me that Jagex releases a bunch of mid-level content, and it always ends up being farmed by Supermax late-game players for pets and clues. However, if you do happen to be one of the few mid-level Timmies who does this boss, then I say you absolutely should text your mom when you get this pet. I'm sure she cares. Have you filed your taxes yet? I haven't. I really should, because what better to spend your hard-earned tax refund on than a brand new grooming kit from Manscaped? Are you tired of feeling like a Sasquatch down there? It's time to tame the beast with Manscaped. Manscaped's precision tools make grooming an absolute breeze. The new Lawnmower 4.0 is the star of the show. Now, not only does this have a light for advanced navigational purposes, but it's also waterproof. Hopefully, you only need that feature near the shower or sink or something, because if otherwise, see a doctor. Their ball preserver and crop deodorant are also paving the way for male hygiene, which is something that the boys have been lacking for a little bit. Trust me, your partner, real or imagined in many cases, will thank you. So get 20% off plus free shipping with the code 83weeks at manscaped.com. That is 20% off plus free shipping with the code 83weeks. Don't just get your money back this tax season. Get your swagger back with Manscaped. The Wilderness Bosses. Finally not complete, broken, heaping piles of garbage. Jagex updated them recently and made them, dare I say, fun. The singles versions not only give you a good chance at a cute little pet, but you can spike some GP as well if you hit the rare drops. These things are simple and they're worth a shot even with lower gear. However, the multi-bosses are a different story. It is nigh impossible to dodge PKers, ice barrages, and racial slurs, so come prepared if you choose to try this. Now, finally, capping off our first tier of difficulty is Jad. You can really do this earlier. The reason that I'm putting it last in this section is because if you do any of the next bosses without a fire cape, you should be bullied back to Valorant. Maybe this game isn't for you. But anyway, that wraps up what I would like to call our tier 1 bosses. This is the easiest tier that you can try just to get your feet wet, if you know what I'm talking about. And before you say it, no, I did not forget Calfight Queen again. It's just that no one cares about Calfight Queen. What are you doing as a man killing KQ? Get a job. Go to war. Now, on to Tier 2. These bad boys will start to net you some real gains and test your knowledge of the game itself. First in this tier is going outside. You could skip this one if you're an Iron Man. Now, of course, is the perfect time for you to start exploring the Slayer bosses. Now, for some reason, when I look at these as a whole, I'm like, hell yeah. But then when I look at them individually, I'm like, eh. You know, Kraken is fine, Turbo AFK for a steady stream of money. Guardians are actually my favorite, but people think I'm weird when I say that. Sire sucks, Thermi sucks, Cerberus is cool, and Hydra is mind-numbing, but once again, shits out money. You have the Slayer level to unlock them, you can do them. Don't worry about it too much. Now next, I'm going to lump together the entirety of God War's dungeon. I can't tell if these are fun or not. The difficulty ranges from forcing your newbie and uninformed clanmate to tank for you, just spanking these things, all the way up to the 5-0, Red X, real esoteric methods, you know, created by someone who hasn't seen sunlight in years and didn't even realize that COVID happened. Now with these specifically, I gotta say, believe in yourself. Scared money don't make money, and I promise these are not as intimidating as they seem. Alright, I gotta throw this somewhere. So next is Corporal Beast. Again, you can make this extremely easy with masses, or you can make it difficult with some newfangled solo techniques, but regardless of what you choose, what the fuck are you doing at Corp? Zulrah, finally a real boss. I bet y'all are expecting me to roast this one for being the place where bots and sad Iron Men go, but I'm over 9,000 KC, and it's actually one of my favorite bosses. This is easier than Vorkath to farm, but it's much harder to learn, because you don't really learn anything. You just have to memorize 1,000 different Zulrah patterns. Also, you get zero money doing this in 2023, so probably avoid it, unless you need a mutagen to avoid being made fun of. Vorkath, Zulrah's younger brother that isn't a disappointment to the family. It's pretty fun. I assert that this boss is a fantastic long-term goal for newer players because you don't need that much gear. The upgrades are cheap-ish. It shits out money, forces you to get void. Like, you know, thumbs up. This is just a real account progressor. Now, finally rounding out our second tier here is Mustba. The newest addition to the soloable boss pool. This thing is perfection in every way. It's more money than Vorkath, clocking close to 5 mil an hour, but also significantly more in depth. It's got a higher skill ceiling, higher requirements, both gear and stat wise, but I've got a whole video on the Grumbler, so, you know, check it out when you get the chance. Now we have the final tier of bossing in OSRS, the big boys, tier 3. These are going to net you some serious money, but also potentially require 1,000 hours plus to get to, but boy, are they rewarding. Now, if you've made it this far in game, that means you can no longer post on Reddit because your input might actually make sense. Instead, make a Twitter. Use it as a place to morally grandstand. Trust me, arguing with people who have 0 Twitter followers and retweet Ben Shapiro will make a difference. Kicking us off is Nex. This is really just the worst boss. I have a whole video on it, but I'm gonna use this as an attempt to explain my personal philosophy of what makes a good high-level encounter. Right, we love something called emergent gameplay, the little things that we can do to improve our experience at a boss that we discover as a community. So, for example, when you first learn Zarpus, you start by blowpiping, okay? But then when you get better, you can do melee 4-tick, then you can do melee 5-tick, then you can do melee backtiling, you can DD with your teammates, whatever it might be, it feels like there is always room to go up. See, Nex does have that, fun fact, but it's missing a key ingredient. At its lowest level, its easiest form, content has to still be fun to make the harder methods worth it. Nex is not. It's a brew simulator with janky feeling movement mechanics, so every little shiny and cool efficiency you can add is just a little tiny diamond on a heaping pile of shit. I'm getting sidetracked, but let me say my piece. Normal Nightmare suffered from this as well because the majority of the fight was just swapping your overheads every few ticks on a non-regular cycle and taking chip damage, right? Fasani's fixed that by giving no chip damage when prayer is correct and making overhead swapping a much smaller portion of the fight, letting the other more interesting mechanics take the lead. Are we even talking about Nex anymore? Man, regardless, what I will say for this encounter is that the money is insane. Torva is well over a year old and it still sells for the same amount it does on day of release, or very nearly. If you can stand it, go here to make some money. Nightmare! Speaking of, Normal Nightmare can freak off, but Fasani's is a super fun encounter. I just wish the drops weren't absolutely useless. Regardless of all that though, I think this is very worth it to learn. Give this one a shot. Corrupted Gauntlet. The Tilt Factory, baby. I absolutely adore this content, which you might not expect, considering how my Galenor Games run ended this year. But I don't mean doing this content, right? What really brings me joy are seeing these Iron Men, Meta-Whore, Gauntlet Rushers go 1200 dry and have to stare in this bright red eyesore content for hundreds of hours instead of doing something less efficient and having fun. You made your bed. Now get into it. Now for the content you all expected to top this pyramid. Chambers of Zarek. I used to do nothing but dunk on Raids 1 purists all day because they're frail and weak, and let's face it, they make it easy. But I've had a change of heart, okay? I actually extol the incredible complication of the Ulm encounter. It is, albeit accidentally, the single most intricate and complex encounter in the game. It just sucks that the rest of the raid is so boring. Now, I am going to include challenge mode in the spot as well because there's no new mechanics, right? It's just normal chambers but longer, and that leads us to our next spot. Theater of Blood. Now, I'm not talking about entry mode. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. But normal mode, as you may know, is my favorite content in the game. It's pure mechanical perfection. Every encounter flows so well. There's no downtime. There's a wide array of strategies to employ depending on how you feel. I could go on, right? There's a reason this content still reigns as king in so many people's minds. If you want to know how to brush up your chops, I have a video that you can watch here. And oh, baby, here we go. It is time for the top 3, the absolute weapons of RuneScape. The 3 hardest challenges in the entire game without including self-imposed restrictions like Solo Tob or No Pillar Inferno. Those are merely achievements and not something that people really farm. Rounding out the 3rd spot, Tombs of a Masket. Now, you're probably expecting this a lot earlier because yes, 0 Invocation TOA is about as hard as Barbarian Fishing. A 150 plus I'd put in tier 2 and 300s I'd put at the bottom of tier 3. But what I am measuring here is what top end players efficiently farm for drops. Now that puts us in the range of 400 to 500 Invocation, which gets pretty brutal. Now there are a lot of arguments about whether or not this is artificial difficulty, and it's certainly controversial how fun it is with rooms like Monkey Puzzle, but you cannot say that a 475 is easy. Everyone's got to be pretty sturdy. Second placed on our list is Hard Mode Theater of Blood. This content is extremely vicious. A team of absolutely seasoned gamers with Solo Tob KC and GM speedrun times can still wipe to this encounter. It's not that strange. Things get out of hand very quickly. I'd like to say that I love this content, but I'm going to be real, I just can't. Every time someone asks me to do a hard mode, I let out an audible groan. Regardless, it is worth to do until you get those juicy kits and dust, and then never touch this content again. And first place, to absolutely nobody's surprise, Temporos, the most elite encounter in the entirety of old school RuneScape. Is this Temporos, bro? I'm kidding, it's the Inferno, obviously. The most mechanically complex and beautiful piece of content in the game. Every little fledgling's journey to adulthood starts with your first time entering the Inferno. It's scary, your hands are clammy, your heart is pumping, everything is alien, and you know that you are going to see 1,000 failures before you see a victory. But don't worry. All right, because this is literally just a children's game. Go read a book, eat a Kit Kat, buy your cape, stay tasty.